actually avoided making a video after my first day of class because I thought that I wouldn't have enough material to talk about, and it turns out that waiting until the end of the week is a really bad idea because I have too much to talk about. Monday was orientation. We didn't really do anything. We just kind of took a tour around the building and signed a bunch of papers, you know, basic stuff. Then Tuesday, which was our first day of class, of actual classes, we dove right into it head first, and you know, they were already lecturing the first day. By Wednesday, my second day of classes, I saw my first dead body. Now, I thought this process was going to be at least a little bit slower, you know, like, I know some people they've grown up in funeral homes or they work for funeral homes, stuff like that, but I kind of thought that they would take more of us who haven't ever really dealt with death. I thought they would take more of us into consideration, and it turns out that their whole philosophy on the subject is, if you're not going to do it, then don't do it. So for my own personal background, up until last Wednesday, I had never actually seen a dead body. I should say I had never actually seen a dead, unembalmed body. I've been to plenty of family funerals and things like that, but I've never touched a dead body. I still haven't. I have never, you know, just seen someone who hasn't been made up and looks pretty and they're all set in a casket and they look like they're just sleeping. One of my required courses is anatomy. So during anatomy class, we have a lecture, and we also have gross anatomy lab. The word gross, if you're unfamiliar with the medical term, means to look at the human body with the unaided eye. So that's the other half that's not lecture, is we actually go into the lab, and there are cadavers that are being used for dissection for, I think, the 4th or 5th quarter students. So as our quarter and our year progresses, we'll be actually looking at the cadavers that they're dissecting. But on Wednesday, it was just kind of a nice, easy little trip into the lab. Here's some dead people. It didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to. I thought that the faces were going to bother me. I think that everybody assumes that people's faces are going to bother them the most because they're not moving around and, you know, they're not alive. But what actually bothered me the most was the hands. And it's something that I've never paid attention to until now. But really start paying attention to this. Look at how often people's hands are moving. And I know I always use mine when I talk, and other people do the same thing. Go to the grocery store. Even if you're not paying attention to the cashier's face, in your peripheral, you can kind of see their hands moving things across the line, pressing buttons, etc. And to see someone's hands completely, I mean, just not, you know, you could just like pick someone's arm up and it would just kind of like flop around. That was the thing that bothered me the most. And I'm not too sure why yet either. I think it was just the fact that you always see them moving, and now they're not. So definitely, anatomy is going to be one class that I'm going to struggle with a lot, but I really, really like anatomy. I guess you kind of have to go into a field like this. But it's a lot of memorizing, or no, I shouldn't say it's memorizing. It's learning terms and how to use them and in what context they're being used and how to describe things using anatomical terminology instead of like your arm or your elbow. And already we've been assigned a quiz for Wednesday. And so it's flashcard time. Just for the quiz on Wednesday, I've had to make all these flashcards. That's just for anatomy. I have to know a whole different set of terms for medical terminology. Actually, that's just half the list. I just don't want to read anymore. So yeah, it's going to be a little rough. All the other stuff so far is pretty basic. Business law, accounting, not much you can really talk about there. Then there's social aspects of death and dying. Now, I was an anthropology major for about 4 years, so this class is extremely interesting to me. In fact, one of the things that I plan on doing after I get my bachelor's in mortuary science is to apply it to a possible master's in anthropology. Half-baked idea so far, I know, but I'm kind of hoping to apply it to some sort of master's thesis about death in different cultures, death in the Western culture even. One of the more interesting classes to outsiders is embalming theory. Now, embalming theory is not the philosophy of embalming, but it is embalming without the practical aspect. So we basically learn about embalming, learn what it does to the body and what reactions it starts and stops, and then we can later apply that to our actual embalming. Which brings me to my next class that I had for the first time today. This is clinical lab. Now, today we didn't really do anything. We just got familiarized with the lab itself and what instruments we're going to be using and where they can be located and how we're going to do body removals. And body removals is the term that we use for going to pick up a body from a hospital, a morgue, the county coroner, a funeral home, etc., and bring it back to the school. Something else that I didn't realize is that our school has a very strong relationship with another local university that has a very strong medical field. So when they have to do cadaver work, dissections, things like that, guess who gets to embalm the cadavers? So actually, if it weren't for us, then the local university wouldn't be pumping out really awesome doctors. I'll probably talk more about lab as we go along. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, and I don't want to start talking about things that I don't really know about yet, so I don't want you guys to get a false idea of what this is like. But the general idea that I'm getting from my first week of class is that it's going to be an incredibly intense year, and I'm going to have to focus really hard, especially on the classes that I'm not going to do so well in. But luckily, our class already is really tight-knit, and we're already planning study groups and things like that, and I think that we all already have a really strong connection to each other. We don't want to see each other fail. We want to help each other out as much as possible. So I think we're definitely off to the right foot here. So next time when I make a video, I probably won't wait so long because it's becoming obvious that it's just going to pile up, all the information that I'm learning. Definitely, if you guys are more interested, I would be happy to talk about each class in more depth as I go along. Maybe take a whole video for one class and a whole video for another class, like that. I'd be happy to do that. Just let me know what you guys want to see, what your questions are and what you're most interested in learning. I will try and answer everything that I possibly can that is within my area of knowledge and within my legal limits. So please ask questions and don't be shy about it. Pretty soon, I think I want to do a blog TV if you guys are interested in that as well. So we'll see how that goes, if there's an interest for it and stuff like that. I think so far I have about 200 subscribers, which, by the way, thanks for subscribing to me, guys. I'm really happy that this channel has gotten that much publicity so far.